The last session now will be moderated by Nike Alao, Chief Research Officer, Business Day Intelligence. Nike.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for staying put till the last leg of this business of agriculture. The next session is about agri-branding, cultivating a strong agricultural brand from farm to market. I have here on the panel the distinguished panelists. I have Mrs. Jacqueline Yawa, member of the International Cocoa Diplomacy. I have Mr. Kende Akikomi, strategy manager at Center Spread Gray. And I have Ms. Adiroju Odunsi, Sorello Foods and Beverage Company. You're welcome. Could you kindly introduce yourself, please? Sorry, before you introduce yourself, so just to give some context into this session, we'll be highlighting the significance of branding and in the agriculture sector. There's a perception of agriculture as traditional, where people still view agriculture as traditional low-tech industry, which makes it hard to associate with modern innovative branding. So I guess now firms are trying to shift from the narrative from agriculture being old-fashioned to forward-thinking, with one that requires creativity and education. So our session will entail panelists sharing their perspectives on the business of branding in agriculture, the common techniques employed in agriculture, common challenges in agriculture branding, and the importance of branding in agriculture. So kindly introduce yourselves, please. Ms. Jacqueline, would you like to go first? Okay, can I have Adiroju Odunsi, Mrs. Adiroju Odunsi, if you could introduce yourself and tell us what you do, please.
Hey, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Adiroju Odunsi. I'm the CEO of Sorello Food and Beverage Company Limited.
I think you might be experiencing some.
Beg your pardon?
Okay, we can hear you now. Your voice was deep in here.
All right. So I'm the CEO of Sorello Food and Beverage Company Limited in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm an agribusiness specialist, having graduated in 1979 with a degree in agribusiness from Western Michigan University. I'm also a practicing farmer, started farming as a graduate farmer under the Lagos State scheme in 1986, a fully mechanized 25-hectare farm in Badagry. Aside from that, I am a trainer. I am a master trainer for the International Labour Organization, ILO. I'm a certified trainer for the IFC, of course, all this in business management. I'm also a lead auditor for ISO 22,000 Food Safety Management System and the Quality Management System. I veered off farming into food processing as a result of what I saw as wastage that was going on in the farm. And then from there, I graduated into processing first of staple foods, but now our company, Sorello Food and Beverage Company Limited, is actually now focused on bringing the ancient wisdom of herbalism of Africa to the whole world, crafting artisanal teas, superfoods, and of course, dehydrated vegetables. So we operate both locally and especially in the export market. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for sharing that great profile. Thank you. Mr. Kende Akinkunmi, are you here? All right, while we're waiting for Mr. Kende and Mrs. Jacqueline, Mrs. Odunsi, I would just like you to help set the tone for this session. If you can just give us a deep dive into and introduce the concept of branding within the agricultural, context, and why branding is essential for the agricultural, business, and how does it contribute to long-term success?
Okay. So branding is everything that helps a customer to identify your products. Branding is what stands you out. Branding is how you get into the heart of your customers. It's not different in agriculture as it is in other products, even though agriculture has its own peculiarities. So for instance, when you're talking about branding, you are talking about a total package. A total package that includes your designs, your about section. What are you about? You first have to determine who you are, know who your target audience is, because that is what will help you to define what will suit them. For instance, if you are targeting the Gen Zs, that is the way your packaging must look before you could attract them. And so while people concentrate mainly on their logo, that logo also must be designed with particular reference to the target group that you are aiming at. It goes beyond that. It also has to do with your color. It has to do with your fonts. It has to do with everything, how you actually present your business to the world. So there are guidelines. You have to have guidelines of how you use your logo, where it can be used. Somebody is creating a website. This is what they need to do. This is your color. We can see examples from great brands. When you see Coca-Cola, it does not matter whether they write Coca-Cola in red, in white, in green, in black. You know that this is Coca-Cola. Nike, immediately you see that check sign, you know that you're talking about them. So what we are saying that even in agriculture, you will need to be able to stand out. Whether your business in agriculture is primary production, which means you are producing the crops, it could be vegetable, it could be cash crops. What are you about? What are your values? What do you want to project? Of course, in agriculture, it can be a bit daunting. Number one, you are just selling vegetables, and you think selling vegetables doesn't need to have any specialty to it. I want to tell you that that's not so correct, because people are now looking for value in what they are buying. There is a big world out there. There are people that are producing, and they're producing a lot of products, but you can have your own niche. And when you begin to have a niche, then you need to think about branding. You need to communicate what your essence is. You need to communicate the way you have grown your crops. You need to communicate the way you have packaged your goods. You need to communicate whether you have the kind of standards that people are looking up, that they will be comfortable. You know that food is different from buying a shoe or a bag. People who want to buy your products want to know that they are safe buying your products. And so building a brand image in agriculture will actually help people to be able to sell more, to be able to connect to more customers, and to be able to play in a particular niche. I can stop here because I think maybe the other participants.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for sharing those tips on branding, going just beyond the logo and the visuals, and more about creating a distinct identity. You're welcome, Mr. Kinde. You're welcome, Ms. Jacqueline. Kindly introduce yourself before we go into the questions. Kindly introduce yourself, Mrs. Jacqueline.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Yawa. I have about 22 years of work experience, and basically out of those 22 years, it's been about business development. And you know that in the business of sales, whether you're selling in a bank, you're selling in agribusiness, you're selling in construction, business development is about branding. It's about yourself. And so I am going to be discussing the business of branding and cultivating it not just in agriculture, but in yourself as a person. So I'm delighted and thank you for the opportunity to share my experience. I currently work with international cocoa diplomacy, and I've been actually having a very interesting time all day today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. You're welcome. Mr. Kende, kindly introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good afternoon. It's really nice to be here. I am Akikumi Kende. I am the strategy manager for Centers for Grade. Over 7 years of experience in branding and marketing communications, marketing strategies, how to properly build your brand, what are your archetypes, things like that, and just taking the brand to market. Um, it's been really great jumping on sessions earlier this morning. Just looking forward to sharing my thoughts, my hoping my background can actually enrich some more agri-tech brands in this space.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. So with your background in advertising and product marketing, can you share some branding techniques such as brand storytelling, visual, identity, and value proposition crafting? Can you share some techniques that the agripreneurs can use in their uh, agri-businesses?
Oh, definitely. So just right off the bat, branding to the layman just seems like it's your logo, it's what people can recognize about you, but it goes far beyond that. It is there's a saying that says your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, right? When you cannot speak for yourself when you're not there to say, hey, listen, this is not what I intended to say, but this is what I want to say, right? Your brand is the experience people get from your product. It's how they feel about your product when you're not in the room to speak for yourself. That being in keeping that in mind, storytelling is a very important aspect of branding, right? In this day and age, people want experiences. People want to um, experience new things, right? They're looking for what is the latest restaurant out in the market. They keep searching for new experiences. So your brand cannot just be, oh, this is our logo. And in terms of agriculture, storytelling plays a very vital role. In I'll give an example. You want to show people that your products are organic, your products are from a very small farm, from a generational farm where you put so much thought into the processes, so much thought into your branding, so much thought into your packaging. That's where storytelling comes in. You take people behind the scenes, you show them how things were put together, what are the processes to get this from point A to point B? For instance, from farm to market, what is the process for a single sack or a single basket of tomatoes? Right? It's not just at the point of you got to the market now, you want people to just come and see your tomatoes and say, oh, I like this one, right? People buy things based on, in this day and age, they build trust and familiarity. So to build that, storytelling plays a very strong role in that. As to the other aspects of or techniques to branding, one of the things is you must be consistent across all platforms, right? You can't come on Facebook and then your platform or your logo there is a red, a green, and a yellow, and carries a tractor. And then you go to Instagram and I say, oh, because Instagram is more flashy, I want to change up my logo, right? There's no consistency on that platform or on these platforms. People do not see you and then go out to another platform and they'll still recognize you, right? Even in terms of your packaging, it has to be uniform across board, right? Then that speaks also to your color. There is a certain hue, and I'll use this brand of yellow that MTN uses, that
Yeah.
even if you do not see MTN boldly written on it, you will, that's MTN, right? To the point where, and I think I heard this from the first speaker, where Coca-Cola, no matter how they write their name, because of the ribbon technique, you are going to see and know, oh, that is Coca-Cola. To the point where recently in the market, several people had to use that same ribbon to sort of write their name so that they could have some uh, sort of steal from the branding and get some more sales. That's another story for another day. But there is when there is uniformity, people tend to recognize your brand a lot more, right? There are so many other techniques. There's partnerships. There's making sure you build personal relationships with retailers and vendors, right? These are the little things that you put together into your branding. That is an aspect to this, but it's usually done by the professionals. That is what we call a brand archetype. And I think I picked this up from the first person as well, and I'll just take it a bit from there. When you have a brand, when you're building a brand, you think to yourself, who are the players in this space? You want to understand the market, right? Number two is you say, who am I speaking to? Who is the target audience? Am I speaking to the Gen Zs? Am I speaking to the millennials, the boomers, the Gen X? Once you understand who your target audience is, we usually break it down in marketing to, we say generation, so Gen Z, Gen X, millennials. We say age range, right? Age group, so maybe 18 to 35. And that tells you your channels, that tells you all the things you need to do. But it especially tells you what kind of archetype you should have. Now, there's a archetype of the hero, there's a archetype of the everyday man. There's several archetypes, there are 12 in number. These archetypes mirror your brand to sort of say, hey, we understand what you're looking for. So we are mirroring ourselves to be exactly what you need. For instance, if I need a brand that would be my hero in terms of my fit farm journey, that would take up my mission, take up everything I need to become a fit farm professional and say, look, we're here for you. We're here to fight for you to make sure you achieve your goals. That is the hero archetype. It plays into your storytelling. If you are the everyday man, meaning I want you to look at me and see yourself in me. I am everything you need for your everyday needs. That's a lot different from your hero archetype. So you cannot just pick an archetype and say, I want to be this. Do you mirror that person? Does your brand solve solutions in that way? Right? There's a creator, there's the magician, there's the sage. So you need to sit down, understand each of these archetypes, and then select one or two of the archetypes that you can then say, this is what I want to be like. And on that note, I'll just round that up.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for giving us some deep dive into the brand ecosystem and how it entails community and engagement. It's about nurturing a community of loyal customers and advocates as well. Yeah, thank you for that. Ms. Jacqueline, you play a key role in promoting sustainable cocoa production and trade. Could you just give us your perspective on how what considerations should be taken when branding an agricultural business for export or global trade?
Okay, so thank you for the question. I would also build on what the last speaker said. I really didn't hear the first speaker when she was speaking, so I won't be repeating the things that they've said. And I'm going to look at this from the context of not a multinational, not even a large corporate. I'm going to look at this from a young agripreneur who just wants to start off their business, whether they're exporting, they're doing primary production, or the logistics angle of it. So I'm going to be viewing this from the nano sense of it and from the SME sense of it. I think Madame Odunsi did mention that evolution, and that's where I'm going to be coming at it from. Whether it's a nano business or a multinational, the fundamentals are the same. And so there's nothing to be scared about. I'd like for us, when I've said this, for us to play something for us to do. So you will start by understanding that a brand is how your customer perceives your product. So how do they feel? Someone had mentioned experiential. If you go globally now, you have places like Diageo having experiential centers globally and other companies. So that's the same experience. So how do they feel when they think about your product? Remember BIC, I don't know if any one of you used BIC here, but I did in secondary school. And I know that that same BIC is the same BIC. It hasn't changed. So they have chosen not to change because it's working for them. So branding does not need to be complicated. In fact, to be honest, less is more for me. So what should happen is who, like he mentioned, who is the export market that it's going to? What are the standards in that market? Do you understand? So what are you exporting, my darling? Are you exporting chocolate? Are you exporting cocoa powder? What derivatives of the cocoa or the cocoa pods itself? Or is it the waste products that you're exporting? So that will be a function of it. So you've got to do research. You see this, so I'm speaking to the young people now. You see this phone on your hands, you're going to use it and you're going to do a lot of research with it. And you're going to put in the work. Earlier on, people spoke about agriculture. Agriculture requires patient capital. And that patient capital means doing the work. It means paying the hours, and paying the hours means you need to know who's at the other side and what they will take. You're not going to send a product that is not going to be acceptable in the other market. You go online now. Thankfully, the world is a global village. So I can see what chocolate that is produced in Vietnam and is organic would look like. I would see what the packaging would be. I would see whether it's carrying fair trade. You know, a lot of us use Cantu, and he mentioned something about storytelling. So put a bit of that storytelling in your labeling. My grandmother started this chocolate production in her kitchen in Etioni. The Cantu story, that's what it is. That's why I buy Cantu. It's because it says my grandmother started share business in the share market somewhere. Whether that is true, whether it's not true, but that's what I've bought into. So my dear, for the export market, you must know what that market wants. You must understand that it's about how they feel about your product. They're not going to come at you with sympathy. Nobody wants to spend money. That's the first thing you should know. And they're going to be buying because they feel they're buying into something that empowers somebody else. Fair trade is a global phenomenon now. So why don't you take on that story and put it on your product? If it is around cocoa and the derivatives, please, I would like to show that video, and I would end by saying something. If the technical people are there, just show the video. It's like 4 minutes, but please, I just want like 30 seconds of it.
Yeah,
Is it possible?
The video?
I had sent it earlier on to Madame Ime.
Yes, we have it.
Okay, please, could you just play that video so that everyone can see it? It was because you had asked me what the person should do. So, you know, we've spoken about a few things.
Using AI, we can see how each kernel pops from the cob, transforming into a vibrant room with people and activities inside. The lights and colors are magical. The power of AI is truly amazing, making everything look sharp and astonishingly magical. Now I'll cut this tomato into quarters and then again. Let's see how AI can create with this tomato slice, resulting in a stunning, modern architectural space with lively activities and vibrant lights blending yellow and red. Now let's try with a kiwi. I'll cut it like this. Next, let's see how AI makes the kiwi seeds come to life.
So
a new architecture emerges with sharp green colors. Everything looks
it.
unexpectedly real.
So we can stop it. So what I was trying to bring out here is that you should leverage the levers of technology, whether it's the internet, whether it's social media, and of course, definitely AI. AI can help you build that branding that you're looking for next to nothing. So if it can turn agricultural produce into beautiful architecture for living, you can imagine what it can do for you. So you don't need that high-tech school, or I know you would need Mr. Akinwumi's expertise, but at least the fundamentals of what you want, because Mr. Akinwumi is only going to translate your ideas. If the ideas don't sit well with you, if it doesn't hit your core, I'm sure if Mrs. Odunsi tells you about her story, if it doesn't hit you, your core, the owner of the business, if it doesn't relate with you and relate with your customers, he can't translate it into a story. So first, you've got to do the work, know the market it's going into, do the research, and of course, put yourself in the other end, which is understand the experience that they're looking for, and note that quality must be standard. So it's not just packaging alone. What is inside is just as important as what is outside. And Akinwumi said it, consistency is very, very key and important. It's not good that they eat the chocolate today, sweet, and tomorrow it's bitter, or they find cockroach inside it. That shouldn't be at all. And on that note, I'd like to, yield the stage to someone else, or to the moderator to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for such great insight. Yes, experience is very integral. It's integral to, you know, building your brand from farm to market. Just the process it entails from getting your products to the audience. And I like what you said about capital patience and value communication, communicating the value, you know, of your product. It's very key. Back to Mrs. Aderoju. Can you share some common challenges of agricultural businesses face when trying to build a recognizable brand, and how they can overcome it?
The challenges that agricultural businesses face aren't too different in Nigeria from other businesses. But in addition, because of climate change, you know, we are going through a period that any farmer who is not smart, who does not use tech, does not research, and just think that just having water on the farm alone will get them the profits they are looking for, they have not really started. Number one, in the morning, one of the speakers were actually telling us about this. Some of the challenges happen because there is glut in the market. If you have built yourself a brand, you will go online and say what you are making. You will decide a business model. Are you a B2B, a B2C, or combination of both? If you are branding yourself as that, you already have followers. You have off-takers who are supplying agricultural produce either to supermarkets, you know, either to restaurants and all that. So you can have off-takers ahead of time. And once you see that and you have your logo on your products, because the fact that you are selling everyday goods, even if you are selling vegetables, there is a way to package your vegetables in clear, transparent plastic. There's a way to perforate them so that they do not steam up and then get damaged. You go to some shelves or some supermarkets, you see food thrown carelessly, you know, all over the place. And I'm saying, oh, okay, now that I have some land that I'm going to do horticulture, when I bring my own brand to this supermarket, people must choose it above the others. And it doesn't have to cost even much more money. So there are little steps that people must take. Number one is that you do not produce because you have land. You produce because you have customers, because there is a demand for what you are producing. You also produce, people say quality, and I dare say quality is in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes you may decide to play at a lower level so that you can sell your goods. There is no point in trying to copy people, spend a lot of money, and find out you cannot attract the price. The last speaker just told us, if there is no quality, branding, packaging will attract me to buy from you for the first time. But when I find rubbish inside, I cannot continue like that. So I would advise that people upgrade their knowledge base. Some of these training are even free online. I recollect, is it 2020 that I had my first training in digital transformation from ITC Trades. It was a whole course. It didn't cost me anything. I see that Madam Bosu is on the call. Yeah, we both went through that. They taught us all these things. And you know, I'm not an expert, but when I want to give a job to somebody, I know exactly what to ask them. I know if they're not doing the work, if they are copy and paste, I know they're not getting me what I want. Therefore, people should take advantage of what is available for free. Mastercard, Visa, all these organizations are training people in simple techniques. They tell you the videos online in how to use Canva to create your logo. And if you do not want Canva, just go to your WhatsApp and say, create a logo for my this product. And it will show you. If you don't like exactly what it is, or you want to get a graphic artist to do it for you. But like it says, you start from somewhere. You start from the level that you don't have to spend so much money until you get to a level that possibly you want to become a big player or you want to go into export. And let me say to people that are here, that are in agribusiness. The world is actually waiting for Nigeria products. I can tell you that. Prior to now, all we have been exporting are commodities in containers. Jacqueline was telling us that she can identify Vietnam product, Vietnam cashew. Do you know that Nigeria, 4% of Nigeria cashews is only the cashew that is in America as Nigerian. The rest are coming from Vietnam. They have been routed through there. They are coming from China. But as a Nigerian brand, I had this first hand at an intelligence seminar that I attended in New York. But they are looking for that Nigerian brand. And it's already in the US, but it's bearing the Christian name of Vietnam and Brazil and China. So there is opportunity if we brand and we brand ourselves well. I will also say there are things that people are looking for in your branding. They are looking for whether your branding is eco-friendly. They are looking for how it stands on the shelf. Does it take so much shelf space for the price that is being sold for? Because supermarkets, they're actually selling the space. You need to be, consistent with that. They are looking, we use the term organic loosely. Before you can put organic on your product when you're an exporter, you have a certification, either for NOP from the United States or the Euro certification. You can't say you are practicing organic. My company has not yet, we're just moving into organic certification, but we have other basic certifications that allow us into like a US market. But it will be food fraud. If you say because you do that in your branding in Nigeria, you put organic and you are selling on Instagram and the Nigerian is buying it, that's not a problem. But when you go international, you can't do such. Fair trade is acceptable because people know that there is integrity, fairness behind what you are doing. The basic certification you must have to export abroad is HACCP. Nigeria Export Promotions Council is doing a free training for you to be certified. I think this year's own is closed. There will be another one next year. There was one last year. FDA certification. Any country you are going to, they have their standards. And you must meet also the local standard before you can meet the international standard. So I want to pause here. There are many things that I can say because as an SME operating in this business, I've seen quite a few. And I've seen how you can surmount this obstacle if you just keep at it and you want to keep your integrity. You can break through into the market.
Thank you. Yes, I do agree that the internet is bottomless when it comes to resources that can increase people's knowledge about branding. Takes me to my next question, Ms. Jacqueline. In a sector that may focus more on production, than marketing, how can agripreneurs balance both aspects to ensure their brand stands out?
Actually, your brand starts from, let's assume that you're doing end-to-end, so farm to farm gate, right? Mm-hmm. And you have collaborators along the way, so your logistics provider, your storage company. Your branding starts from production, because let's hypothetically take that you're taking sorghum to Guinness, or you're taking cocoa to Cadbury or Nestle. That's where the branding starts from. So you've got to use the right seed. If you, like she had mentioned, say you're organic, you're fair trade, you've got to do everything consistently in line with that standards. That's why I was speaking to quality assurance. Sorry, I used quality. It should be quality assurance. And like she had mentioned, Mrs. Odunsi had mentioned, it depends on where you want to start from. So if you take clothing market, for instance, you've got Hollandis, that's 140,000 naira for 5 yards, right? And you've also got Ankara that costs 3,000 naira, but then you put it in water and the whole thing, goes with the water. So it depends on where you want to start from. But you've got to know, you have to have your end game in mind. Madam, Miss Alao, you've got to have your end game in mind. You can't say, I want to be a tier 1 cocoa producer, and then your production you don't get it right. No. So the soil itself that you're using to do the production, you've got to get it right. All the things that go with it, you've got to get it right. The pruning, the nurturing. I liked the word here, which was cultivating. You know, cultivating a strong brand. It entails, you know, a lot of things. So to balance it, Ms. Alao, you've got to start there. There's no balancing. I don't know what context the balancing is coming from, but that's where you start from. You've got to start from the basics, from the foundation, because if you don't get it right at the production stage, your final output, let's even assume that you're selling the primary produce. So I'm taking my vegetables and going to Mrs. Odunsi's store to sell it to her. If I did not get it right with my processes at production, then she's going to reject it, because obviously it would either be there's too much pesticide in it, or something didn't go right, or it's not the right weight, or it's not the right color, and all of that. So, Ms. Alao, for branding, that's where you sit down and you have a plan for it. It's not agriculture or agribusiness is a business. It requires planning. It requires sitting down and telling yourself, this is where I want to be in a year. This is where I want to be in 5 years. This is where I'm going to. It's not a walk in the park. It's not something that you just do and then you think you're going to make money overnight. It doesn't work. You're going to crash. So that's where you start from. So that's where the balancing starts from. The balancing starts from the foundation, the primary production.
360-degree approach to branding. Thank you. Yeah. So when it comes to packaging, Mrs. Odunsi, could you tell us how important it is in how important packaging is in the branding process, especially for products like fruit, vegetables, or processed goods?
Thank you very much. Branding is critical for agricultural produce. For instance, if you are doing fresh fruits, and some of those are being exported out of Nigeria, or fresh vegetables, or even yam, apart from the fact that you clean them up, there are certain packages that you must put them in. There are cartons that is able to bear the weight that you put it in. Some of them will be perforated. And this you can find in Nigeria. If you go online, it depends on the crops that you are trying, even the vegetables. You'll see how different packages are like. And if you are selling finished packaged goods, such as teas that I'm selling, your package must be outstanding. Must be outstanding to the extent, I will give you an example. I think about, more than 7 or 8 years ago, we started the packing our teas in pouches. I think we're the first person that started doing it in Nigeria. And how I knew about it is that I had read a trend that says in 5 years, light packaging is what was going to be required, and it's going to be like this and that. So I started to experiment with this. I didn't have money to print pouches, but I had a good designer that could do labels that I can paste on the pouches. And there was an investment meeting in Nigeria. And our marketing manager was the one that was there. And the commissioner, the minister for trade and investment, removed the products, our products, and said, we only want Nigerian products to be exhibited here. We don't want any imported products. So I was called and I said, please go and show the assistant to the minister and let them read the label of the factory where this is produced. Because at that time, we have gotten certain certification. We were not even using machine to produce the teas. We were using hand and putting them in tea bags. But from day one, we decided that we want to benchmark ourselves to best practices. And so we paid a lot of money for the person that was going to design. We went for somebody inside a multinational company. And when he called his price, yeah, it's a price that we needed to pay because we want to be above. So after that, then we began to do all these things. Now, about the storytelling. If you are exporting when to North America, they are interested only in your story. Anything else, they have it there. But the story that, you know, your region is producing the best ginger with a high level of gingerol or whatever is what they want to hear. My story of how, as a young lady growing up, we have elderly women who mix herbs together to treat us, and we didn't need to go to hospital, is a story they like to hear. And so, as Ms. Jacqueline has said, that's very important. The certifications you have must be written on it. Then the nutritional facts. It is standard and it is not written anyhow. So some of the products, I mean, I mentor a lot of women entrepreneurs, a lot of them, who are following me. And I'll say, I see some of the labels and they'll say they want to sell in America. I say, you can't. Your label is not even FDA compliant. And it is there's a template. You just plug in your figures and it brings it out for you. So if you want to tap into the market, the United Kingdom had come here. They are looking to us for food. The United States say we have an edge because we have natural products. People are tired of chemically produced products. They are looking for natural. And this is where we have an edge as Africans and Nigerians especially. So we can begin to put that on our brand, how this has been done. There is a GMO free. There is a natural certification. If you're not able to do organic yet, you can do all this. There is gluten free. And if you are producing things that have to do with nuts, there must be an allergen alert. This product has been produced in a factory that also produces nuts or milk or any of those things. These things can happen in Nigeria, but abroad, the kind of swing that you will face, it's going to be much. So even if you are not there yet, whatever, try from now on. If you are just starting or you have started, try from now on to see what are the best practices. And some of these things don't even cost you any money to do. Begin to benchmark. By next year, I will have gotten this. By 2026, I will be at this level. And then slow and steady, you win the race. There is much help now than when we started. And there is help. You can do so many things within 1 week. Not only is there help, there is also money as available as grants to help you. And you have to search for that. There are so many pitching competitions that people can attend. And so I would like to encourage people to please, like my dear sister said, your phone is a veritable tool now. It's not only to be forwarding messages, it's actually to be able to be a powerhouse in knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Odusi. Yes, so I agree with you. We have the resources at our fingertips. But a question for Mr. Kenny on Mr. Kende. Are you there, Mr. Kumi Kende?
I think he dropped off a while back. I don't think his
Yeah. Okay, I'll direct this question to you, Mrs. Odusi. So someone starting out with the limit.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
I can hear you. So I can't see you, but I can hear you. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So my question to you is that for someone starting out with limited resources, such as 100,000 naira, Mrs. Odusi and Miss Jacqueline have, shed some light on how there's so many resources available. But someone who has 100,000 naira, how can they begin, building a strong brand identity for their agricultural business?
Right. So, well, with everything going on in Nigeria and inflation, 100,000 naira, you take that to a marketing expert, a branding expert, and half of that goes towards your logo, and that is even at a discounted price, right? So the first thing to do is not to say, "Oh, I want this really talented designer that did this person's logo for 100K," and then take the whole 100K to go give him to design something for you. Right? We're in the day and age where AI and so many learning and developmental platforms exist. For instance, Canva, right? Canva already has AI inbuilt. You let it know exactly the type of logo you're trying to do. I'll make it even better. Go to ChatGPT. Explain your company. This is what I'm doing. This is my space. This is my target audience. This is what my branding is like. Develop a logo. Right? ChatGPT is going to give you, or develop a prompt to make a logo or give a description of a logo. Whatever prompt you want to feed into that is going to give you an answer, right? You take that and you go straight to Canva and you develop a logo from there. Now, what ChatGPT has done for you has given you an idea of what to look for because you don't have a designer's eye, right? So you don't know how these elements should interact. So ChatGPT is free. To a level, GPT 4.0 is also free, but it's very limited. So you take that, you go to Canva and you develop your logo. That's not going to cost, that's €0, right? You then have some money left aside for your packaging, right? This is core because when you're taking your product to the market, like if it's perishable, like it was rightly said before, you're not going to, there's a way you need to package it, there's a way you need to present it where it seems more appealing. I went to Spa a couple days ago, and the same pear that I would have bought from the roadside vendor, there's a malam just very close to me, was packaged neatly in Spa, and for a couple more extra naira, it looked very appealing. It was wrapped, it was packaged very neatly, and I just picked it up and I was like, oh, okay, let me get pear. I didn't go to get pear, but the packaging drew me in. I was very interested in what they put there in the store, right? And this is something I see almost every day passing and going back home and to the office and back home, right? So packaging is very important. For your packaging, again, your logo is already designed by Canva. You could design what your package looks like. Go for minimalist designs. Go for things that would not excessively blow out the bank, right? We also talked about storytelling, being able to create a presence on online platforms. All these platforms are free. There is no paid social media platform right now. Your Instagram is free, your Facebook is free, your TikTok is free. If you're targeting the Gen Zs, right, creating your content on TikTok shouldn't cost you money. People think, oh, I'm starting a business, I don't know much about digital. Let me hire a social media manager that's going to take 150K a month to develop 3 contents per day or 3 contents per week, right? If you actually take a course on content creation, there's a course on content creation currently on Udemy, on Coursera. What that teaches you is creative hooks to make people watch your video, right? There are so many saved contents that I have on my own Instagram because I like how they curated the piece, how they drew my attention from the first couple of scenes, right? So I saved it to say, okay, I'm going to watch this later and I'm going to break it down. So that's things that we need to do to save to save more money instead of just hiring and probably not the best thing for me to say, hiring a professional that's going to charge you a lot of money just to do these things. Obviously, when you're developing your marketing strategies, you then pull in a professional to help you properly develop your experiential strategy, your activation strategy, you're going into a new market, your go-to-market strategies. But these little things here and there, there's things that you could learn on your own. You could also do it on your own. Creating a content calendar for 3 social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, right? It's the same content that's going to go on all platforms. Just a little behind the scenes of what happens in the space, right? Because somebody will tell you, oh, I'm doing 3 platforms. It's so much work. It's the same content that goes across all platforms. You use your Hootsuite. Hootsuite is a scheduling platform that allows you to schedule your posts. So even though you're going to be at the farm by 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, you could schedule your posts on Hootsuite for a month, right? And it doesn't affect, all you have to do is make sure your content is ready, schedule on Hootsuite, and then it posts everything for you, right? One other thing to also look at again is, I think I talked about a strong virtual identity, right? Even though your budget limits your options, you have to be consistent. You can't say, oh, we use the logo on Instagram, but because to print out that logo in 2 colors, because the logo at times has 2 or 3 colors, it's too expensive, right? Let me not put logo on this packaging and just write a note, right? I see you, really, I see your ad on Instagram and I see your brand and I see your logo and I go to the market and then I don't see that logo, but I see your product, right? You see big brands saying, oh, scan to make sure this is a real verifiable Big Ben rice. It's not because they don't have the branding or things like that. It's because they are consistent across. You should be able to see a Big Ben, Big Bull rice right, or Uncle Ben's rice, and say, oh, I saw it on Instagram with this logo, with this color, with this hue of green, and I'm seeing it outside in the market, and it's the same thing, right? So consistency matters a lot. One other thing is digital marketing, right? If you're doing social media ads, those are called organic, right? You're posting your content, people come across, maybe 5 people like it. That's still within your space. You've not reached out into a new market. So storytelling through digital platforms and digital ads, for instance, Meta, which is Instagram and Facebook, allows you to run ads across both platforms, right? So you could put out, let's say, let me even put it to numbers, 20,000 naira a month for just digital ads. Your awareness is going to go up. Usually your conversion is 10 to 15% of what your awareness is. Best case scenario, you're doing a 20%, right? If you're converting on an awareness of, let's say, 500,000 to 1 million people, and you're converting about 15% of that, the next month you've made enough sales to then increase the budget and say, okay, we know what we're able to gain about 15% conversion on 500,000 people. If we increase to about 40% or 40,000 naira, we can then increase our awareness and increase our conversions, right? So these are things that are very vital. They don't cost a lot. For instance, you could do Telegram. Telegram has stores. WhatsApp has stores. You could open up your digital stores where people can actually order. Nowadays, WhatsApp has AI that helps you answer your customers even though you're not there in the store online, right? So these things are what would help you manage your limited resources, but also still be very active in your branding, in your marketing, and at the end of the day, your conversions. At that point, I would pass the baton over to the
Fabulous. Thank you for that sample breakdown according to marketing communication channels that can be used. Thank you for the salient points and the return on investment it entails. I'm sure our attendees have, learned enough about that. Yeah, Mrs. Jacqueline, please. So how should an agricultural business evolve its branding strategy, as it grows? Because, when you considering, rebranding or expanding into new markets, how should they, how will they evolve their branding strategy when expanding into new markets?
Well, I don't think it's going to be any different from any other business. It's just that this is agriculture. And I would like for us to, well, I'm glad that you're saying agricultural business, because I think for a long time, there's this thing around our head where agriculture is really not looked at as a business, but looked as my grandmother or my aunt in the village who plants, that's the mindset that we've got. So again, there's the place for research. You're going into a new market. You're going to have your road to market strategy, what market that is. So I'm in Oshogbo and I am going into Ibadan. That's a totally different market. So you've got to understand the market you're going to, and you've got to have a plan to it. And then, like every other thing that you do, it's a project as well. You've got to have timelines to it, and also provide gaps in the event that things don't go the way you had planned it, that you have buffers to cope for those. So whether it is you are putting aside 50,000 naira for your marketing strategy now, and then for whatever reason, you've gone above budget. So you have to have a buffer, maybe an additional 10,000 or 20,000. So mine would be, first, you do a market research, you run it like a project. So you are the project manager. And when you are Jacqueline Nigeria Limited, you are the MD, you are the CEO, you are the CFO, you are the head of admin, you are the logistics manager, you are the book boy, you are everything. So you've got to run this like a project. So you are a project manager. And for a couple of years, it's going to be quite demanding. So then what happens is, like, so you come into an event like this, is what I would say. You latch on to this network and you get a Kehinde Akinkumi and you connect with him on LinkedIn or even on Instagram. And then you have that challenge. What do? You buzz him. Ah, my dear brother, this is what I'm doing. So that's one way that you can use to mitigate bumpers along the road, because there will be bumpers. It's a project, and for every project there will be curves and there will be challenges along the way. But the question is, how do you bounce back from those challenges? So, Ms. Adenike, the first is you must understand the market you're going into. You must understand what is contemporary, and you must also do some, even though you're a startup, you don't have that capacity, but in your network, you might have friends that you can bounce these things off. You should actually, one of the things I think you should do in building your business is you should have what we call a personal board of directors. Beyond your own personal career development or business development, you have experts. So I have this spice making company, right? So for my spice making company, so who would be my go-to SME, subject matter expert in branding? Because branding is very important. The truth is, if you don't tell your story, you might be the best products in the world and nobody would know you. You've got to advertise. You've got to tell your story. You've got to put yourself out there. I know that particularly for a lot of women, we grew up in this background where, oh no, you don't advertise yourself. You know, you've got to be covered. Your skirt has to be to the ankle and all of that. Whether we like it or not, I'm sorry, it actually kind of like translates into the kind of work we do and the businesses that we run. But I am here to tell us that you've got to advertise yourself. You've got to put yourself out there. And in putting yourself out there, you have to do the research, and you've got to have people around you that will help you. Your personal board of directors. So pulling these SMEs, you're not going to be going to them with every little tiny thing, you know. But the question is, when you've tried to solve the problem and you can't solve it, I always say, go to someone and let the person help you. That's one way you can evolve. And please note that every market is different. No two markets are the same, whether it's internal market in Nigeria. So Isaleko, Balogun is not the same thing as Dugbe market. And it's not the same thing as Kaduna Central market. There are nuances for all of those markets. So you must do the market research. Adenike, sorry, with branding, it's a lot of research. You've got to understand the nuances and how to overcome those nuances and run it like a project. And please have project sponsors who are the SMEs in that space. That would be my counsel.
Great, thank you for that inspiring and engaging contribution. 3 things I picked up: ecosystem immersion. So understanding ecosystem immersion in terms of your market research, understanding the nuances of the territory you're entering, personal board of directors shepherding you along the way. Thank you for those insights. Back to you, Mrs. Aderoju. Sorrelo Foods is committed to driving growth and in the agro-processing sector and promoting sustainability and empowering local farmers through business initiatives. My question here is actually about, brand lessons we can learn from well-established agricultural businesses and how young agripreneurs can apply them. So I guess you can use Sorrelo Foods as a case in point here. You're muted, ma'am. You're muted.
We didn't start as Sorrelo Food. We first started as Excel Farms in Badagry. Then we became Rehoboth Agro-Allied Ventures, which is a business name registration. I mean, we're just moving from one level to the other. By the time we got into the export market, we became a limited liability company. A lot of things that I would have said, Mr. Kiwumi has said it. But if I'm looking at ourselves, you know, I didn't have the pictures here. We started with, in our food packaging, we started with a drink called Sorello, which is actually Zobo based. And I like them with ginger. But because I understand what Ms. Jacqueline was telling us, I actually did a project. I did a market research, physical. In those days, the business centers that had large systems were owned by Indians. And I knew one in Ikeja that had like 200 systems. Young people used to come there. They were drinking this in my house. All my children's friends, they come and drink tons of this. Anything I made is what they drank. So I would have gone with the one with the ginger. But the market research, when we went to do it, they would throw our bottle up like this. We didn't label it. And they would say it's good. Oh, wow, this is nice. But how? Now, this is kind of peppery. You know, this is kind of peppery, but it's nice. So I began to see, is this why Dr. Pepper failed in Nigeria? Number one, I went for the young people because at that time, I wasn't even this old then, but at that time, I just manage one bottle a day if I'm drinking. But young people drink from bus stop to bus stop. So I know that these are the people that can help me move the product. You know, we just started with that one variant. And we did that variant for more than 8 years before we introduced the ginger variant for people like myself and the people that are normally older. You will have thought that they are the people that should be, but you know, my target audience were people that will really, you know, help me to move the market, and they were not interested in anything peppery. So that's how we transitioned. We changed the bottle because I have millennial children, I have Gen Z children, and I have older ones also. So at the table, I normally will bring, this is my idea. And they were the ones that told me to change my bottle. The bottle is roundish, doesn't have, they say it does not have an elegant shape. And they are looking for elegance. So we had to change. I had to invest in making a mold, you know, for ourselves, for our company. And nobody has that mold anywhere. You cannot find anywhere. But it has to, they said you must be able to hold it. At the waist, it must be slim enough for you to hold when you are, you know. So I'm saying it's not every time that we need to pay an expert. If you call people that are in your target group, call the meeting in your house, cook some things that they will like. It can be a group of women, it can be young people. Give them a free taste, a free idea. Brainstorm with people, they will give you an idea of what it is that will sell. So I think that's how we have gone. But I am somebody that does research a lot, and I do also travel a lot. But these days, you don't even have to travel to see these things. When I travel, I go and I'm looking. Even in Nigeria supermarkets, I go and I'm looking. Every time I'm in any market, I am looking. What is new? What is being done differently? Why are people choosing this over that? I will go into a supermarket and I say, I saw you bought this honey, but there are also these ones there. So why did you choose it? They say, this one has this and this and this. This one does not. I chose this because you see this one, even from how they packaged it. And let me tell you an experience in a local market when we first started. We took our products there and they had it in one side. And they had some other products on another side. By the way, this market is in Agege. So when I saw the woman and I said, okay, what's the difference between, he said, these ones that are here, they're expensive. I said, what makes them expensive? He said, but they're important. I said, why? She showed me the barcoding. She said, you see, this one is like Arole. The ones that they are local. It's part of branding. The way you have coded your products, she's able, an illiterate woman was using that to tell me that your own products, we were coding on our cap. He said, see this one now. She didn't know who I was. See this one now, they are the imported ones. You see how they did their number. When you see that number, that's how they do it. But this one, they look like Arole. You already know they are made in Nigeria. So that's why we separate them. You know, the people that are buying, they have a perception So we have to do some things, and you don't have to arrive in one day. But my own is that, you know, I've gone to different places to ask questions. I've gone to Coca-Cola to ask questions. There are people that have gone before you. You can go and ask questions. And don't get into the business of being a copycat. You can create an identity for yourself. When you understand, Nigeria is such a big and massive market. Don't sell to the old world. When I'm mentoring young people and I say, so who is the target market? They say every male and female in Nigeria. I say, okay, let us even take where we are now. Maybe it's Ikeja. What is your daily production? Even in this your streets, can your daily production service your streets? They say no. I said, so that is why you just be beating about the bush. Targeting your audience is important. You must find the people that will pay for your service in a way that you will make profits. If you have not found those people, you have not found the right market. And it works backwards. You first find out what your customer wants. Even in farming, if you think I want to grow this product and you want to sell in a particular market, please go and ask them what is it that they will want, even if it is crop, not packaged goods. Find out what they will want. In packaged goods, there are many questionnaires that you can use to get information from people. I guess some of those things, they'll say, okay, we are trying to do so. Do you buy in 50 cl? Do you buy in 1 liter? Or do you buy in 5 liters? Why are they asking me that? They want to know the size they should do, because they are going to go through NAFDAC. And for every pack size, they are going to pay money. But I always answer it because I know what they're trying to do. And I have done the same, and I know it will help. So market research, as Madam Jacqueline has said, is extremely critical. If you have not done it and you have started selling, please go back and do it. The drinks company would have died, you know, and aborted. We would have aborted if I did it to my taste, which was putting ginger in. Because the people that I was aiming at, they didn't like the fact that it was peppery. And so we might think we assume, sometimes we think we know, but until you test the market, you really don't know. Thank you very much. Let me stop.
Thank you for that comprehensive insight. And on that note, we're going to transition into the Q&A. There's some questions that are related to what you just shared with us, but I'll first pose this question to Mr. Kenny. So Oladeni Ayobami is asking if you can address automation of messages online using WhatsApp and the likes for agribusiness. I think the person is trying to...
Yeah. So I think I talked a bit on that when we're talking about channels. Currently on Telegram and WhatsApp, you could create your online stores. I'm sure most of us in the audience, you've been trying to buy somebody from an online vendor, right? They give you a link on Telegram, and then you click that link, it takes you to a WhatsApp store, right? So this is a instructions, or a guide on WhatsApp. You just go to WhatsApp Business, you download it, you set up a store, you put in all your branding. Whatever I mean, all your branding, I mean your logo is what you use for your display picture. On your bio, you have your website, you have your company name. It's even an opportunity to upload products. So if you have packaged products already, pictures of them, you can upload them into your store, where at the end of the day, you now either the Telegram AI or WhatsApp AI for automated responses. Now, for instance, with your phone, somebody has seen an ad you did on Instagram, click the link, takes them to the WhatsApp store. The first message that should come out is, hello, welcome to how may we serve you today? Right, that's the first message. That doesn't come from you, that is in by step. So the first thing you do is you download your WhatsApp Messenger, your WhatsApp Business rather, or your Telegram. You download either of them, and then this thing just follow the steps, follow the instructions as you go, and then it's very easy to set up.
Thank you for sharing. This question is directed to Ms. Jacqueline. Debo Olatunde says, I'm a bespoke grower on the verge of entering the local market. My primary target market is B2B, hospitality, institutional, eventually expanding into B2C. My challenge is data, mainly the lack of it. How does one get around this impasse in data collection that allows me to dial in our product mix to brand and align with market needs? Our market research tells us there are many gaps we can step into and fill.
Well done. Congratulations, Mr. Olatunde. You've already identified the gaps, and so assuming that you've done some level of research. So my take will be, like everything you do, please start small. So, it's easier when you fail small. I'm not saying you're going to fail, but please, I also need to put this out here. A lot of people speaking to you, I have failed repeatedly. So, and I am not afraid to fail, but I am hoping that every time I fail, I'm going to fail forward. I am not going to fail on my back and collapse and never be able to get up. No, no, no. So I'm glad you've done that. So can you take those gaps that you've identified? Because MBS is not going to give you any data research. It's not going to tell you that, okay, there are 500 hotels in, let's assume hypothetically, in Lagos that need, what do you grow now? I'm trying to figure out. Let's assume you grow cabbage. Do you understand? You grow exotic cabbage and broccoli and all of those vegetables. It's not going to give you that kind of data. So since I have identified the gap, now, I don't quite know where you want the branding to come from. The branding we're talking about here is so please, let's not think that branding is packaging alone. No. Branding is how people feel when they think about your product and when they use your product. So that's what branding in, even just thinking about it. So the question would be, what is it that you want them to think? So it would help me. Let's assume it's vegetable. So if they want to talk about Olatunde Farms, for instance, they should think, if I'm thinking exotic vegetables, I should think Olatunde Farms. And I would know that Olatunde Farms is somewhere in Ekpe. And I have seen that picture before on his WhatsApp group, his WhatsApp message. I've seen a bit of the farm. I've seen how he goes around cultivating it. I've seen how he treats his workers. So I buy into that. So that's the niche you want to create for yourself. So the question first is, the fundamental is, what do I want to do? What is the need in the market? What is that gap that I want to fill? First of all, people always say, find your passion. Sorry, if you follow your passion, there might be no food on the table. My mother used to ask me when my children said they wanted to read. My daughter said she wanted to be a creative writer. And my unlettered mother said, please, does that put food on the table? You get the joke. So please, it's okay to run after money. Passion can come in later. Do you understand? But however, if you're a trust fund baby, you can follow that passion. Do you understand? And then the money can come in, later. So trust fund babies can be of, different levels. So Mr. Olatunde, this gap starts with the gap, no matter how small it is. Identify what it is that you want to do. Start small and grow. Start small and grow. That would be my counsel. And your branding is not just packaging alone. It is how people feel when they think about your product. So you're going to have to start from whether it's your factory now or your farm space, or if it's a logistics company, because I think I'm making this too much of farming. Sorry, that's my primary constituency. So I'm biased towards it. So perhaps somebody else has something to build on that. That would be my take. Start from that gap, fill that gap. And you were not here in the morning. Data is the biggest challenge we've got. And data is king. In fact, it's emperor. That's how I put it. And yet, all of us are struggling. So in that your small space, with that small information you have, please start with that small one so that you don't crash so badly that you become so discouraged and you don't want to continue. That would be my take. Thank you very much. Please, if any one of the facilitators want to help build on what it is that I've said, please kindly jump in and do that. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for that impactful contribution, Ms. Jacqueline. As we wrap up, we're going to be sharing some insight on final branding advice. I will start with Mrs. Aderoju Odusi. What key advice would you give someone trying to build a lasting brand in the agricultural sector?
Okay, thank you for that. Before I go to that, I would like to just give a hint to Mr. Olatunde.
Sure.
I was on a panel last week with some technology gurus. It was AI inclusivity hosted by the US Consulate, and Business Day people will have access to these people. But I had a particular person who is in the same line of business that Mr. Olatunde is trying to do, and I heard him saying we are sharing data. Number one, because we can't even meet the demand that we have. So Mr. Olatunde can either try to get in touch with Business Day to ask, there were two people on that panel. One especially was saying that, or if you reach out to me, I'll be able to connect you with the person because they are big in the business and he could be able to give you some information. And he said they have gathered data. They gathered the data with their sweat, but they are willing to share. They're willing to share. So it might be a place that you will start. What are the last three thoughts? It's summing up everything that everyone here has said. Slow and steady wins the race. You don't need to reinvent any wheel. Many wheels have been created. Latch onto them. Choose platforms that are easy to latch on, that you don't have to pay. And there's so many things you don't have to pay for. In fact, in this country, now, if you're a woman, you can get away with murder without paying a dime. Some of my platforms, they'll be asking, is it only women? It's only women but it's the season. So there's preferential treatment for women. So please, there are things you don't need to spend money for, but when you need to spend money, please spend it. But be focused, know what you want to do. Don't be a copycat. Find mentors that will be able to hold your hand. Mentors also don't like lazy people. People that they give assignment to and they will not do it and they want you to be. Call Mr. Akinwumi today about that Canva you said, hey, I'm trying to do it, I cannot do it. I will send you a video of how to do it. I'm not going to help you to do it. If you start tomorrow, you ask the same, how can that be? When you give an assignment, you come back and say, see what I have created, then I know you are serious. And then I can spend more of my time, with you. I want to appreciate everyone on the panel. I've really learned so much from them. And, my notes are full also because I'm also in the learning process. So Ms. Jacqueline, Mr. Akinwumi, I'll be reaching out to you too.
Thank you. Mr. Akikome, can you share your key advice on building a lasting brand in the sector?
Right. So one thing that I think I hold very dear to my heart in agriculture or in advertising as a whole, and put it this way, is understand that branding never remains the same. The more you increase your product lines, the more you would have to update your branding, right? So if you started out with one product and your product is geared towards sustainability, or your agriculture or your farming is geared towards sustainability practices, and now you brought in something new, right? A new product or a new innovation to your market, you need to take that element and find a way to infuse in your branding, right? Now, take this back. It doesn't mean change your logo. It doesn't mean change your colors. It means in terms of your storytelling, you must find a way to let your audience know that, hey, the latest innovation in terms of growing crops, in terms of packaging, latest innovation, in terms of delivery, in terms of supply lines, we now do this. Increase, but not remain in the same position as you grow. Time where you brand say we are doing it, and you just want to start through there, you just continue another same brand. Okay, the refresh. But at times it just means you've grown way more than you were 5 years ago, right? So there's a need for a refresh, there's a need for a rebrand to let people know that hey, there's so much growth going on here.
Thank you, Mr. Kikomi. Over to you, Mrs. Jacqueline. Share your final advice.
Okay. So first I'd like to say thank you to Business Day and your partners for putting this together and for inviting me. I'm really humbled. I'm being on this panel with Mrs. Odunsi and Mr. Kunkumi. I've got my thing here. So a lot of us are life learners, and that's where I'm going to take it from. There's a place in the Bible where it says, and lately I'm beginning to learn that, the place of communication. It says, and to communicate. That's the King James Version. Forget not. So please, in everything, I'm not exactly, I'm not preaching here, but that's my core. And that's what I believe in. So I would like to encourage us to be nimble and to be adaptable. And like Mrs. Odunsi said, copy what is good, stay the course, be focused, and honestly, just be a lifelong learner. Be nimble, be adaptable. Just, you know how plasticine, when we were growing up, how it was. You know, you can mold it into it. Don't be stereotyped in, oh, this is how we used to do it. Oh, Mrs. Jacqueline said this is, I should do research. If you've done the research, is not hitting the goal. You might just need to start the thing anyhow. The research will be in the, you know, how do they say it? When the rubber meets the tar, you know, there's a way they put that thing, you know. So don't be waiting to do the research. It's not going to be perfect. Sometimes you've just got to start. So please stay focused and believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing. Know that if you do stay the course, you will unlock the opportunities and you will be the Dangote of the agribusiness space, honestly. And I am really looking forward to that in the next generation of agripreneurs that we would have in country. And please remember to buy local, because it is when we buy local. I learned this at a host event recently, where I was hosting an event. It is when we buy local that we can then now export internationally. We did it with our music. We did it with our Hollywood. We've done it with our tailoring. Our tailoring is going global as well. But somehow we didn't do it with our football, but we also exported international stars. So, you know, I like to balance things. So please buy local so that we can also export the same products. So bless you all.
I hope they get that message. Thank you so much for your precious time. Thank you for taking time out to equip our attendees with tools and success tips for building a long-lasting brand. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your expert motivation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Adenike, you were a brilliant host.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Odunsi. It was wonderful. I will try and connect with you.
Yes,
I hope you don't mind if I get your phone number.
Yeah.
Her tea is sold in Harrods, by the way.
Oh, really? So I will go into Harrods just to get that. That's fantastic.
Do you know that it might be selling in Harrods, but I'm not the one that exported it? Yeah.
Oh, so these
Yeah.
are the conversations to elevate now.
Yes,
So how
because
can the Nigerian government, because somebody mentioned it, Madam Ime, at the event we had in NEPC building, where the lady said, look, what we want from the government, we've done the heavy lifting, is for them to facilitate trades for us, have those trade fairs where we can go and interact with buyers, directly without having a middle person,
that's correct. But when you want to do international trade, sometimes you need a middle person.
Yes.
For instance, exporting to the United States and you are in food, product liability insurance, some are asking for $1 million.
Ooh.
Whereas if you have a distributor who already has products,
insurance,
America, they are the number one in suing, litigation in the world.
Well, you see, their style, so their style also, I don't know.
Yeah, that is, the government has to